Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of Black?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself. Ooh.
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No!
Hello.
Benjamin.
It keeps defaulting to this version.
Oh, that is. Isn't that strange?
I know. It is. There we go.
That's just
There we go. Ooh, my hair. Look at
my hair.
All right. Welcome, everybody.
Like my floor in the background. Again, I'm going to be honest with our viewers and listeners and say I'm also still in my pajama pants.
Oh my goodness!
And my slippers.
The world of Zoom. I would not have known that.
And normally, I'm very good at getting up.
So your whole walking around the room thing probably isn't going to happen.
I'm not going to do that. No, literally, I was just checking. I'm not going to do the show now. She said, "You're still in your. You should probably change your pants." I was like, "I'm just going to sit down for this one."
That's funny. Well, welcome to episode 41 of Ben and Jake Write a Movie. How crazy is that?
I know.
Wednesday, November 30th.
Yes.
And
It's December tomorrow. That's weird.
That's weird. December.
That's really weird. I mean, they do just say that the older you get, the quicker time passes, but I just feel like this year has whipped by.
Yeah.
Why?
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that the other day, and I might have said this to you before, but there's like, you know how a lot of people with time, specifically, especially if you deal in like science fiction, but maybe even in real science, that there's a lot of mathematics that goes into time travel, speed of light, all that kind of stuff, right? It's all math based.
Sure.
Well, if you think about it, like when you're born, 1 year is literally 100%.
I've said this. I've said this to you.
Yes. We've had this conversation.
We've had this conversation. That's right. Yeah. So when you're 5, 6 months,
it fractions out. So literally, from a mathematical sense, your years become smaller.
Yes, in terms of the percentage of your life.
Right. But if you think about time and speed and the way all of that works, it makes sense that 1 year today feels less than 1 year back then.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Just mathematically.
When you think about it in terms of memory, you know, absolutely, I agree.
And time being also a human construct in that sense, you know.
Yes.
So that's a whole other thing. So
what
it's
should we talk about today before we?
So there's two things I'd like to talk about today before we jump into our actual outlining work. One is one's a little bit more of a kind of what's the right word? Something that we actually have discussed and even touched upon this morning, which is how, as a writer, do you maintain your drive, your ambition, your passion over the course of a career?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to write a blog post about this, interestingly enough. It's funny you say this.
Yeah.
And it can be long term over the course of a career. It can be, how do you maintain your enthusiasm over the course of a script?
Over a single script, sure.
I mean, we are in development on a project. We talked about this the other day. That has been 2 years in development, from initial concept to today, and 2 drafts of a screenplay, and it was a pitch as well. And it's
it's gone through 3 full iterations.
I know,
actually 4 because the pitch changed once.
4 because the pitch changed. Absolutely right.
Yeah,
I mean, really great. And I think let's talk about it from a script perspective first of all, but then we'll talk about
we can start small and then go bigger, because I do think from a career perspective there's a different angle, because there is the how do you keep creative passion, and as a writer and a professional writer, that's important. You need to continue to have passion, but then there's also like, how do you do it? Because I think one thing that nobody ever teaches us, no one ever really goes into what a writing career actually looks like.
Absolutely, because there are a lot of ideas about what it is, and it's very different.
I didn't know what it actually was going to be. You and I were writing, like most screenwriters start, and we were just writing scripts, and we were hoping to one day get a manager or an agent, thinking, okay, we'll go and we'll sell some scripts, and we'll, who knows,
and then maybe one thing will get made.
Yeah,
and then there'll be multiple things will get made, and then I'll have the life of my dreams, and everything will be okay.
And from what I feel like is taught in film schools, and this obviously, the caveat being, I have never been to film school,
right.
But from what I've read in other people's online posts, or the people that I've spoken to who did go to film school, because I have some very good friends who did, the actual ins and outs of what it means to be a screenwriter is not taught. The craft is taught, you know, a little bit of the kind of basics of Hollywood might be taught, but what you actually need to know and how to survive as a professional screenwriter is not taught.
Yeah. And it's Derek Kolstad. I can talk about Derek a lot on this show, but he once said, and I really liked it when he said it, because I was like, yeah. He said, you work hard so that you can work hard. And I always really liked that, because it's like, there's never this moment where you stop hustling.
Right.
You are always going to be hustling as a screenwriter. You just are. As a TV writer as well. Yes, it'd be great if you get on a show for however long. That's great.
Right.
I mean,
you're going to need your next show.
You know, but at some point, that show's going to end. And is there a version where, you know, there are incredibly successful screenwriters who have enough money to live off for the rest of their lives and their families? Yes, totally. There are. Those people are still hustling too. Those people
want to keep working.
They want to keep working, because actually you need that. But anyway, it's this aspect of constant hustle. And bringing it back to the concept, it's script-wise, but then kind of building it out actually from a kind of idea of that. It's like you have to find the things that you love. And we had this morning. We both came this morning. I was feeling a bit down, a bit blue. I've not been sleeping very well, feeling a bit anxious about various things. And we had a little chat about it, which was really great. One of the great reasons why talking to your writer friends or partners is so great. So you can go, hey, I'm feeling this way, blah. And they
having
go,
that community. Having a writing community is so important.
And you have solace in that. And then what did we do? Did a little bit of work on our other spec that we're working on, which was great.
Yeah.
And then we came up with a fucking killer idea that I can't stop thinking about.
And that we're not going to mention live.
No. Oh, no, absolutely.
Because this one's fucking awesome.
This one's fucking awesome. And I came out of it going, oh, great. Because what was I doing? I was doing the same thing we were doing before we broke in. I was doing the same things we were doing before we sold and got the princess made. Doing the same thing we do all the time. We're just sitting around and coming up with great story ideas. So ultimately, you know, when it comes to how do you maintain your enthusiasm throughout a script, well, I think it comes down to that very first thing. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And it's again something that Josh.
What if you lose the love? What if the love? I mean, look, you're going to be in that script. You're living in that world for a while. Now, some people can pump out a script in a week. I'm not that person. And that's a whole other topic to talk about. But what if you're 3 months in and you stop loving what you're writing?
It's a great question. I mean, I think there's a couple of things there. The first thing is it's okay to be uncomfortable with something, and I think it's important to recognize the difference between this is difficult and I don't know the solution.
Right. We actually touched on this a little because somebody asked us a question once before.
We did, and also I actually don't like this anymore.
Right.
And I think you must ask yourself very seriously, is it just that I'm feeling uncomfortable because I don't know the answer? Or is it, you know what, I actually don't think this is a good idea anymore?
Sometimes, I mean, I feel fortunate that we have each other to bounce ideas off of, but I feel like a solo screenwriter would really benefit from being able to go, you know what? I want to go talk about this idea with somebody else because maybe that will spark an exciting new idea. I mean, usually the things that get us excited while we're preparing a script and while we're, while we're outlining even, are those moments of, ooh, wouldn't this be cool? Ooh, there's this scene. Ooh, oh, what if the character did this? Or, ooh, it's like you have that moment of creative energy that flows through you. And then there are times when the ideas that are coming just aren't that exciting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it hurts. I actually think it's really helpful to go to someone else and be like, what do you think?
Yeah.
They have an idea that you go, that's awesome. Or maybe they have an idea, you go, oh, but what if?
Yeah, totally.
And
it's
then
not
all of a sudden,
yeah.
all you need to keep going with a project is another spark.
Yes.
Everything, I feel like creativity and writing specifically, and even acting, honestly, from back in the day, it's like there's an energy that's required, right? Like a real big amount of it. It's not like a regular job. Like you need to summon energy inside of you, and sometimes it's purely mental energy, but that is sometimes the most exhausting mental energy there is.
Oh, absolutely.
And trust me, I pump myself with caffeine in order to get that energy, but the spark can energize you. The spark of a creative idea can you don't need the coffee. All of a sudden you're just like,
right, and that's
got it. And so you need to do whatever you have to do to spark to the idea again.
Yes.
To go, what is it that I loved about this in the first place?
Yes.
And maybe I just live in that for a little while. Maybe I just remember, oh, I love this character. And maybe you just get excited about him or her for a little bit before you continue moving on, because maybe that sparks the energy.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the project that I referenced a minute ago, that we're going on for 2 years, it's still, regardless of how much development it's gone through, it still sparks. And it's still, this was a brief one-line pitch we made to a producer, very big producer. It's blah, 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 blah. And it's still that. It's still that, even though it's looked very different over the last couple of years.
And we've asked ourselves about it. We've asked ourselves, because we've gone through so much development on it, what is it about this what is it about the idea that we love that gets us excited to write this movie? And thankfully, the producer has never pushed us away from the thing that gets us excited about writing the movie.
Yeah.
If he had, I don't know if the spark would have stayed.
I agree.
But because the story that we want to tell, at least in its kernel, exciting, spinning energy form, that's still there.
Absolutely.
And that's what gets us going. Okay, well, if we're not going to do it that way, how can we crack it this way? Because we still are excited by it.
Totally.
But there are movies, and we've started scripts where you just go, I thought this was a good idea, and it sparked when it was an idea. And then when I actually start to break it down and look at it from a bigger picture, scene by scene, structural nature, who are the characters, that spark starts to get smaller and smaller.
Now then, again, what's interesting is I think it's okay at various points to go, I haven't got it. I thought I had it. I've got something, but I don't have it yet. And what you do in that moment is you jot it down in a file, you put it away in your computer, and you forget about it.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we were talking. I can't even remember how we got onto the subject. Cannot even remember.
Yeah.
And brought up this idea we had last year.
Sure.
That was incomplete. We had an idea. We had a concept.
Yeah.
For a movie. Blank with blank. And we were like, yeah, there's something there. We couldn't crack it, and it wasn't right. And then yesterday, I re-brought that up again today. I re-brought that up again. Said, oh, what if it's this, but with this? You were like, no, is it that? We'd thought about it overnight. We came to it today. We were like, what if it's this? And then we both just got,
that's it.
That's it.
There's the spark. There's the spark.
There's the spark.
Yep.
And that's the big movie version of this idea.
Yeah.
So if it's not happening, it's okay. I mean, it's those two things.
Sit with it, right?
What's the difference between going, I'm uncomfortable with it, let me just keep poking around it and going, oh, it's actually that, or go, let me put it in the drawer, forget about it, and then one time, I mean, honestly, there are elements of this script, excuse me, that we're working on right now.
That have been in other things, absolutely.
In other things.
We had an idea that 100% we've taken, and look, writers do this all the time. You steal from yourself, but subconsciously. And then you go, oh, that's in that other script.
Well, that wasn't in that other.
Oh, I really liked that. I really liked that scene. And somehow I've managed to bring that scene into this. But I want to switch gears because it's been about 15 minutes.
Sure.
And I know we don't want to go more than half an hour on these topics. Because I do think it's interesting and important to talk about sustaining a career as a writer.
Yeah.
Because I think most people, although I'm sure there are plenty that love their day jobs that may watch this and go, I just want to write scripts on the side. Or I just want to write a novel on the side. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Most of us, I think, start screenwriting because we want a career in movies. And we want to write professionally and have that be our day job, right? And I think that the thing that it's really easy to start to get depressed in a writing career for a lot of reasons. And I think that what people, don't tell you is how many no's you're going to hear and in how many ways. And that the desire to persevere has to be stronger than the desire to feel good.
Very interesting way of putting it. Yeah. And I've talked about this at some points in the past. I can't remember if I've ever talked about it on this podcast. When we first became involved with the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, our union, go to various big union events, typically when we might be talking about various negotiations or having big town halls with our elected leadership. And sometimes I would look over at these old, seasoned writers, not necessarily old in age, but old in experience.
Been around a while,
Been around a while. And I just kind of feel like they just had this kind of like Hollywood had beaten them down. And they were just kind of cynical and not all the time. Again, it's not targeting out specific people. We just kind of got this energy of just like, so fucking hard.
Yeah. It's
because
hard.
It is really hard. It's a really hard career to be in.
And just to talk very specifically about screenwriters versus TV writers, because I do think there is a pretty big difference. Both are incredibly hard.
Yes.
And we play in both.
Although we've never been staff writers.
We've never been staffed, but we want to be in television as well. We've written pilots for studios. But the thing about being a screenwriter is, and one of the things people don't tell you, is you are literally the gum on the bottom of the shoe of the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, you are trash. and it's like, you go, but wait a minute. And this is the attitude I think most screenwriters take at first, because you go, well, but there wouldn't be a movie without me. I came up with this idea. I wrote that first script. I sold that script to you.
That movie, that's my idea.
All you people have jobs because of me. And they go, fuck off. I mean, right?
Yeah, they do. They buy your idea. The contracts are negotiated, even if it's an original spec, as if this were a work for hire.
As if it were their idea first.
As if it were their idea, which is important for certain things. Let's be clear about this. Certain union things,
Sure.
We talked about them at another point. But they treat it as if it was work for hire, and then they can very easily and do replace you, fire you off your own movie.
Yeah,
because it's their idea, apparently.
There are very few writers, most of whom are writer-directors.
Yes.
Or writer big-time producers.
Right.
Who have any real clout when it comes to their projects. Now, what's interesting is, like, there are writers who will produce other people's things and actually have more say and more respect on those other things than they will on their own projects, which is bonkers to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that, just taking it from a step back as you go, but I've worked so hard, so many years. Look, I've been doing this 20 years now. You work so hard to break in. And for us, for screenwriters, it's a journey, and it's filled with passion, and you're getting better at your craft, and you finally hit that thing, and you hit that sale, and you're like, I have my WGA card. You should respect me because I'm a professional writer. And nobody does.
And that's it. Is that the phrase that's spinning around my head? It's like, you work hard and really become the best version you could be. You spend hours toiling away at your script and find the way to get through, so you can become a small cog in a mega corporation.
Right. But here's the thing, and I'm not going to dwell into the negatives because that's not what this is about. Accepting that as your reality will make you happier.
Absolutely.
Because that is how you survive as a screenwriter.
Yeah.
You have to, and look, there are certainly very nice people out there, but at the end of the day, even the nicest producers and the ones that we consider friends have to accept the reality of what a writer is as well. Mm-hmm. We have 2 projects with a producer that we've known almost our entire careers. We love him. He's a great guy. If we got fired off of one of those movies, I would not be surprised, and I would not hold him responsible. I'd be disappointed. But there is just a reality to this business. And I think that is something that is not taught. How do you handle that kind of consistent, like pushing you down, and still have the desire to keep doing it, and also to go through years of maybe not getting anything made, to go through years of not maybe getting anything sold, to come back and go, well, I'm going to write my next script.
And that's it. And that's why I want to bring it back to why I feel like that's what it comes down to. It's starting this conversation, because at the end of the day, what happens is you come back, you find an idea that you love, that creatively fulfills you. And that is why you keep getting up every day. Doing this is to explore those stories.
Yeah. And yet also, I think there does come a time whereby you're a professional screenwriter. It's how you earn a living. Mm-hmm. You have a family, you have a mortgage, you have car payments, you have kids. I'm talking about myself. And there comes a time where you also have to go, not only do I have to persevere, not only do I have to continue to find that spark, but I also have to find a way to not be anxious about where the next job is coming from, and not be continually obsessing over the career parts, which there are many, and do come back to that spark. But I think that the way that you do that is through this kind of essentially a paradigm shift, which is, and you've said this before, I am not my screenplay. I'm not my idea. Yeah. So it is never personal. Yeah. That's the first way, right? The second way is by writing as much as you can, or coming up with as many ideas as you can, because ultimately it at a certain point, once you've broken in, a lot of it is a numbers game. How many projects can you get out there so that you can just eventually set something else up? And then also I think that, you know, there is something to be said for the way you live your life as a screenwriter. You know, you go into screenwriting thinking I'm going to make it big and I'm going to live my dreams.
Yeah. And that this is going to make me happy.
Right.
And I think what I've come to, it's interesting. I have the poster of the princess up in the background over here. And I thought I was going to achieve some kind of other feeling when we finally got a movie made. And I didn't have that feeling. I had a moment of going, excellent. But then it was, what's next?
You had the feeling when we were at the screening in Long Beach and the 20th century logo and what I consider the Star Wars music.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's that, you know, comes up.
Yes.
And it's your movie.
Yes.
And I remember you just going, oh my God.
Yeah. And it was a moment in time.
That's the thing. It's fleeting.
It was a moment in time when I felt yes. And then it was, what's next?
Right. What's next?
You know? Yeah. So I would just really strongly say to emerging screenwriters out there, again, I've talked about that a lot over this last year in the various podcasts we've been on in this one too. It's like, this becomes a very difficult job, a very challenging job, a very emotionally challenging, very creatively challenging. All those things are good challenges, you know, and there is satisfaction to be had in that work. There is in working towards something, but it's never going to be this moment of like, oh, you finally made it. There's always going to be something. I wonder,
and I mean, we do talk about like there's always the exceptions to every rule, and so please, by all means, like maybe you'll be that person. There was in the news today, there was a huge sale, mega sale. Channing Tatum attached to it.
Oh, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, in fact, there were
Simon Kinberg. Well, today it was announced how much they made.
Oh, really?
And Simon Kinberg is the writer. And I wasn't clear whether it was a spec or a pitch. They called it a pitch, but I think it might have been a spec, and I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, it's estimated that his writing services for that movie are $6 million.
Wow.
And his producing services are another $2 million.
I mean, I would imagine
he's going to make $8 million, but $6 million for a script may actually be the largest. He may end up being the highest paid screenwriter ever as a result of that. I don't know that there's ever been a script sold for $6 million before. Like Shane Black used to be like the like title winner, right?
I wonder for all services. Well, I mean,
and I don't know the details of his contract. Maybe maybe there's no steps. Maybe they have him under contract until the movie is done.
Maybe they do.
You know, I mean, and I know a huge part of it is also producing services. But the point being, you have one of him, you know, who, he is that writer who is going to have his $27 million home in Bel Air.
Yeah. And all his ex-wives and children to pay for.
And well, I don't know Simon, and I've heard he's a wonderful guy. I don't know anything about his ex-wives, but but the majority of writers don't see that happen. And the majority of screenwriters, you know, if you become a professional and you do sustain a career, you can live a very nice life.
Yeah,
you can even, if you work regularly, you can afford to live in LA, which is not that easy to do. But it's not a get rich quick scheme. I mean, it's not even like look, our first sale was for $1 million, which was just a fucking
I know, and it doesn't
mind blown
like that for 99.9%,
right? And even that, when you started to break it down while it was life changing, you go, no one prepared us for how to handle that from a longevity career standpoint. Anyway, we have now talked for longer than I wanted to, and there are even more things to talk about on this topic, even in terms of just like what to expect that month after you break in.
Yes.
What to expect the year or two after? How long does heat last? What do you need to do? What reps do you? I mean, there's so many things about that.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
We could. But instead, let's get
on. At 30 minutes on the nose, we're going to skip over. So,
as you've titled this episode, passing the midpoint into 2.2. So we've reached. Have we reached the midpoint? Have we actually outlined that?
Well,
yet?
we haven't, but it was an optimistic.
I love it.
I was being optimistic because we talked about what the midpoint is.
Yes, sure.
And it is the change of direction whereby Charlize, Sam, and Hank will learn that there is indeed a cure for Sam's condition, and they will head now on a new path. The turn of the movie becomes find the Holy Grail. Funny thing is, we don't actually know what that is yet, but we'll get to it soon.
Looking this shit up as we go along.
Yeah. So, I think that the where we're at right now, we had talked about, we're right before that, right? We talked about a scene in a motel. My question was, does the motel scene come before that, or does it come in 2.2? And we had talked about how, like in Terminator, you can still have a slow scene in 2.2, but the question, of course, becomes, how does it roll? Now, here's one of the fun things at this stage in writing for everyone, is that these scenes are never in a confined permanent order. In fact, all the way down to after being shot, they can get edited into a new order. So what we're trying to do is write for the flow of the read. If the director, the editor, the studio decide, actually, we want that motel scene to actually happen later, we'll do a little ADR dialogue to make sure that it works.
Yep.
And we'll throw that into this part of the movie.
Totally.
That can happen.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go and open up our document. And
let's do that. So for all of you who may be joining us just for the first time, or maybe the second or third time, but haven't subscribed yet to our channel,
go and do yourselves a favor. And us a favor too. So that you subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, and we have a regular drip of people coming through, which is great. So
yeah, we do. Honestly, like I'm very pleased with the audience and the audience's responses so far. We love your questions, by the way. We're always open to them. I'll just remind people, please.
Yeah.
They make great talking topics for the beginning of next episode.
Indeed.
So
okay.
Let's touch about what's happened previously. So there was this biker bar moment where Hank and Charlize are in this bar looking at the food menu. Charlize orders a burger, extra char, still like that. They get to know each other on a
This is broad. We kind of probably want to dig into that a little before we write that scene, but that is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goes to like, that's the scene where Charlize and Hank are bonding in a way they didn't realize they might bond.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Yes. Great. Sam returns. What the hell kind of withdrawal symptoms are you going through? Charlize explains that she's transforming into a demon from the inside out, but not just any demon. Some arsehole fucks with Sam. Hank tries to defend, but the guys got buddies. Then Charlize steps in. She can't help herself but be aggressive, which is her natural state. A fight breaks out, and it's Charlize letting out her demonic anger fully. This is the moment where her flaw causes them trouble. She transforms into her demon form, and this will be the first time Sam sees it. Someone records it with their phone. It ends up on a live stream on TikTok. They tear up the place and get the hell out. Cool.
Yes. So what we had said next is we're going to do motel. We're going to go back to the biker bar where Zod's going to show up. And I think what could be interesting is that he finds they get video footage from the security camera, and they know what they see Sam and them leaving the bar, and they know what car they're headed in. And
yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
I mean, they're kind of doing their own investigative work.
Doing their own, yes, demon investigations.
Demon style investigate. It would be cooler if we could find a demon way of doing it. I mean, is there is there a thing where they can like put their hand on your head and like read your fucking mind or
well, yeah, one of the things I found out yesterday was in the kind of interrogation scene, is that an ability they have? Like, I can make you tell me anything. You know?
Right. But I'm thinking like that feels very Obi-Wan Kenobi to me, or like hypnotism. But is there like like what we think of as demons, almost like a half style like semi-possession, or a semi like into you? I can like read your soul.
Yeah, that could be really interesting, isn't it? I'm just thinking of
Charlize has those flashes. Remember when she gets hit with that energy that she actually has visions of who Sam is. Is there something about connecting to someone's soul?
Yeah, the concept of clarifying these rules, isn't it? Perhaps, yes.
What is Charlize? Is Charlize keeping watch here? Do we have a cool moment whereby like
does Charlize not need to sleep like the Terminator? You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. Again, rule. You know, shitty.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
But I do want to think like, well, here's an interesting question. Does she call her boyfriend to check in?
To say that she's okay?
Maybe.
Oh, you mean Charlize or Sam?
Yeah, Charlize. I don't know.
I'd buy Sam doing it more than I would.
Yeah, we don't really need Sam doing it. Her boyfriend was an asshole who was getting her to shoot up heroin. I'm not interested in Sam's boyfriend at all. Let's never see him again.
Fine, that's fine. Okay. I don't think I need Charlize doing it because she kind of felt like she was this aspect of well, let's just talk about it for a second.
She cares about him. This is what we decided.
Yes.
That while she's having to pretend to be something she's not, because she doesn't think that anyone will love her as her true self.
Right.
She is forcing herself into this relationship. That doesn't mean that she doesn't care about them. It just means that that's not the right relationship for her, basically, right? Yeah, sure. Like, she's not going to go back to him at the end. Doesn't mean that when their lives are at stake, she wouldn't potentially sacrifice something for them.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we believe that, because when that darkest moment happens, when that Sophie's choice happens, we need to believe that it's going to be hard.
We need to believe that. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's have that then. I think that's nice. I think,
like, does she feel bad? Is being around Sam and Hank, being her authentic self, also bringing out some of this empathy that is truly who she is as a demon?
Yeah, I like that.
Is there an aspect of her going, I'm sorry, I know I ran out. It wasn't cool of me. I'm okay. And I don't expect you to ever forgive me, but I just wanted you to know that, like, whatever it is, on a phone, you know.
Is there any way that an element of this could be set up in the previous scene between Hank and Charlize?
Maybe.
You know.
Right.
She calls boyfriend. Yeah.
You know, it'd be really funny too, is if like she uses language that she wouldn't normally use around him, or she talks in a way that she's never talked to him before.
Yeah, sure.
Almost as if she is being her authentic self for the first time with him on this phone call.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
You know, which is part of maybe what Hank tells her, but it's a little early in the movie and this is why I was like, I feel like we need a softer moment on the back nine of the movie. So a little early for them to be like changing each other's lives.
No,
like,
I agree.
You know, like John McClane and, you know, doesn't have that real soft opening up moment until later on in Die Hard, you know?
And it's,
you know, is she her true self? Because I don't want her to have, like, her journey isn't over yet.
No way.
So I'm not, you know, but it's a bit.
Or is it she slips back in temporarily to being the kind of version? And Sam's like, who are you?
Filmmaker.
You know?
Yeah, because I think that they're going to call her out on this bullshit, and it's not until 2.2 that they get through to her.
I agree.
So I don't think it's a moment with Hank and her at the bar going, you should really just be your authentic self.
Yeah, it was more born out of what are they talking about in that bar that maybe inspires her to make this call, was more than anything, rather than
right.
You know what your problem is, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's like, seriously, you fucking ran out on them? What a bitch.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Like, absolutely. Yeah,
he totally calls her out. I mean, I think Hank calls her out.
You're just like my second wife.
I knew you were a demon. I didn't realize you were such a bitch.
Great line. Great line.
I'll write it in here.
Yeah. For a demon, you're real mean. I knew you were a demon. I didn't know you were a bitch. Great.
Something like that.
Awesome.
Anyway, then motel, Hank drinking. I think there needs to be, this is a little bit, I'm going to say Terminator, We're on Edge.
Yes.
At least Charlize and Hank.
Yeah.
Or at least Charlize is.
Yeah.
Because Hank's drinking. But
yeah,
we need to, I want to feel tension. From this point on in the movie, there's no scenes without tension.
Totally. If I was just saying, I'm not sure where this comes, but it's the fact that Hank normally has all these gizmos and gadgets that are going to be able to tell him when a demon is near. And it's going off all the fucking time because he's with Charlize. And eventually just fucking takes the batteries out because it's whining all the time. I'm not sure when that moment is. It's not here. It's probably earlier,
Yeah. I like that.
The Geiger counter is constantly going. I was like,
it's probably when they finally park the car up here.
Yeah.
What to do next. Hank turns off the Geiger, his demon.
Yeah. What's that sound?
Charlize is like, will you turn that fucking thing off?
Totally.
His demon detector.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So from now, Zod and gang come into the biker bar. They saw the TikTok. What we I guess said. Zod goes to bartender and does a demon trick.
Does a demon trick
to learn about learn anything the bartender knows. Of course, he doesn't know where they're headed.
Okay, but could it be again just putting the pieces together? The waitress at their from their table overheard what direction they were going. Doesn't think anything of it at the time because she's a fucking waitress. But Zod goes, "What did you hear? What did you hear them saying? They're going to something Colorado Springs, whatever." Again, just a way for them to put those pieces together. Great. Now we know where they're going because I did my demon trick and I did it on the.
Is it that I have an idea where it's that could be useful, an idea that could be useful,
as opposed to an idea that's not.
Hank is broke. Sam doesn't have any money with her, so Charlize has to pay the bill at the bar. And they ask for her ID, and she's like, "In this place, you really need my ID because the biker bar."
Yeah.
But because she sees her ID, she has her address on it.
Great, cool, great. Awesome.
And Zod is able to see the address in her mind, or something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, something like that. And you could do something really cool, whereby is there a way to see him going into her memories? And
I mean, that's a visual thing. I think a director would have a lot of fun with.
Absolutely right. Yeah, he goes and he's there. Looking at the ID.
He's like in her eye. All of a sudden, it becomes a POV view. Yeah. But it's Zod now in that POV.
Yes, essentially something like that. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. So biker bar, we're gonna go there. Order extra char. So when they're about to leave, it's actually they're gonna pay the bill before the shit goes down, right? So it could be like on their way out, someone fucks with Sam, right? Charlize asks for the bill
Mm-hmm.
because Hank is broke.
Yeah.
And Sam has no cash. Credit cards.
Yes.
The waitress / bartender, depending on where they're sitting, asks for Charlize's ID.
Yeah.
Which is funny considering where they are.
Yeah.
And we think it's a joke, but then it comes back. And I love that. I love when you set something up that feels like just like a joke in the scene.
Sure.
And especially because she's a demon, like Hank could make an offhanded comment, you know, something like, oh, you know, what state is that in? You know, seventh level of hell.
Yeah. I like it. You know? I like it. Right.
Something like that. Anyway, bad dialogue, but we'll get
bad dialogue. We will tweak it when we get closer.
Yes. You can see the address in her mind. Now they know where to go. However, I just fucked something up.
What did you fuck up?
It's okay. It's okay.
What?
It might be too complicated, but I'm gonna pull back for a second. Boyfriend is where she lives. Okay. But what if we establish in the beginning that she hasn't let her own apartment go? Partly feeling like that's part of Charlize not letting go of who she is, but she's living with boyfriend because she's trying. As a result, when Zod shows up in town, the address he has is the apartment that Charlize still has, which would be on her driver's license and not boyfriend's apartment.
Yes.
Also, police would already be at that apartment.
Right.
So we still need the boyfriend from the police.
Sounds great. Awesome.
So, going all the way back, this is the spark of writing.
Actually, but again, this is why you outline.
Yep.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help?
What is that? Whose Siri is talking?
That was weird.
That was weird. And your volume has just gone.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It disconnected. I couldn't hear you for a second, and then anyway, there we go. Is that okay now?
So yeah, it did. It's fine. So we should have in the home. He's like, you know, you could really let your apartment go already. She's like, you know how it's just a beat. It's like a beat about her apartment still being rented, even though they live together.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, that's good.
And also, the FBI inside her apartment pre-bookstore will give us really interesting insight into also that other side of Charlize.
Yes.
We'll get to see the version of her apartment, which we had talked about before, this empty, stark, weird. And the FBI is going to be like, who the fuck lives here?
Yeah, great.
There's no mirrors.
Right.
At all. In the entire apartment, not a single fucking mirror.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Yeah, great.
Right?
That's cool. Very cool.
So we're going to go to, from here, we're actually going to go, I think, to them pulling back into town. For some reason, I imagine there's a bridge. I don't know why. I see this as a quiet little town.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's like a bridge over the river, and they're kind of like driving in over the bridge, and they're entering into this beautiful little like one main street with a bookshop.
Exactly the way I see it too. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So interior, exterior car.
Yeah.
What are they driving in now? I have no idea.
I can't remember. Just whatever it is, and we'll
yeah, it's
a car.
Old Chevy.
It's in a car, Ben.
An old Chevy, I guess.
Fine.
So old Chevy day.
Yeah.
The gang pass over the cute bridge into, and actually this could be funny too, because like Hank's like, you live here? Like,
Yeah.
I never imagined a demon would choose to settle down in fucking Springville.
Yeah, absolutely right. Springville, Colorado.
Springville, Colorado. Pass over the cute bridge into Charlize's town. Hank jokes about it being so not demon friendly. It's not like there's a lot of bad people doing bad things in this little town.
Totally.
Exactly why she chose it.
Yeah, completely.
No demons showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's interesting. I get a little more exposition through character.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Then they pull up to the bookshop.
Yes.
Ooh, the character from the
I was going to say earlier on.
Totally needs to show up and see Hank and Sam.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's like, I heard you just, like, Ted said you just ran off one day. And let's be clear, this is her bookshop, right? She owns this place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exterior bookstore, day. As they are unlocking the door, who walks up? Talkie friend.
Talkie friend number one.
Yeah, I can't even remember what we called her earlier. She's talkie friend number one, and she won't shut up. Who's this guy? Her new boyfriend? Who's this guy? New boyfriend? She heard about. Now, how many days has it been? 3, 4 tops?
Yeah, it's not been like he went away. Yeah,
she wouldn't have heard about, what happened to other guys.
Would she even think that Hank was a new boyfriend?
Maybe not. Maybe she thinks they're family. Actually, that's kind of thematically.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
That's
my.
Yeah. Something along those lines. They get rid of her.
Yeah.
And go inside. So now we have in the previous scene, earlier on in the bookstore, she goes to this old tome and discovers the prophecy.
Yes.
I think we go back to the prophecy, and what she realizes now is that at the end of the prophecy, there was something that they never paid attention to before, which was the instructions on how to reverse.
In parentheses, in order to read, mate. Yes, perhaps, or it references. Yeah, yes, perhaps. Yeah, what's the right way?
Because this book isn't like. I feel like this book wasn't written by. It's not like written by the devil. I think it's written by.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote it, but it would be like. Again, it's not like specific religious, and yet it does contain the prophecy of the bringer of darkness, and how it will all lay out in a kind of Nostradamus-y elusive way.
Yeah, sure.
Is there? I think there should just be another part of the tome, whether it's in this page or in the next chapter or whatever it is.
It's something
that Charlize didn't look at, but.
Yeah.
Is there a way for her? Because I think this is what I would need. I would need her to. Why does she think this is here? I've brought everyone all the way back.
All the way here, because here's where I think
this is where I read about the prophecy the first time. Instead of bringing the book with me, I totally buy it.
Yeah, I do too.
Bring the book with me. I go straight for Sam because I'm going to kill her. I'm going to stop this prophecy right as it is. I didn't read the addendum. The fine print. Nobody fucking reads the fine print. It's actually quite funny if this was a comedy. You didn't read the fine print? Who the fuck reads the fine print? No, but what I didn't read was the part about how to reverse the spell.
Yeah, I mean,
why does Charlize think?
It's not phrasing it like that, though, is it? Because it's like the note is, I don't want Charlize in any way to appear to be stupid.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't think she's a demon. Reversing the spell was never something that she wanted, that she would have cared about. Why would a demon ever have any interest in that?
Yeah, something just doesn't quite fit right, and I can't put my finger on what it is. I just think it's.
I just don't think it should be a different tome. Like, oh, she just happens to luckily have two.
No,
tomes.
I mean, I agree. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that either, because that all just feels like, oh, I should have looked in that book. But nor do I think it's, oh, it says here how to reverse the spell. There needs to be some other small piece of detective work. You know, the best version of that for me in something like one of these movies is like in Indiana Jones, which is with the
do the rubbing, or
with the rubbing, like or it's on both sides of the medallion.
But why would they think that?
I don't know yet. But I think it needs one more other bit of something, one more other bit of detective work. But again, she knows that the solution is here. That's why they've come here.
Yes.
There is something in this bookshop, in this book.
Yeah, they go back
to
Charlize's
if it were
ancient book.
If it were, like, for example, it's not this, but the pitch is something we've talked about in the past. It's not ley lines, but I'll use ley lines as a placeholder. But I've got this other book on ley lines.
I don't think because you could go to any. I mean, like, I don't want her to have two special books, and I don't want it to be as simple as we could just go to the public library.
Yeah, no,
she has an ancient book that is part of her ancient collection that is specific to her. There is nowhere else in the country that she could go. They are taking a huge risk coming back to this town,
right?
Only because there's this book here.
Yeah, that's right.
So something in this book she believes will give her the answer. And it's not something she would have been looking for before, because again, as a demon, and I'm not saying it needs to be the reversal spell or an addendum like that. But as a demon, what are you told? Well, you're told eventually we're going to create the Antichrist, everybody, and this is how it's going to happen. And then we get to come in, we get to take over the world. That's the prophecy that she goes back and says, holy shit, yep, these are the 4 things that I remember reading about 1,000 years ago when they taught it in demon school. And she goes and finds Sam, right?
Yes.
She's not thinking that there is another thing. And yet, when she sees that the mark of Cain isn't fully formed, maybe this is what it's about. When she sees that the mark of Cain isn't fully formed, she goes, wait a minute. If she's not there yet, there could be a way to reverse this.
Yeah.
In this book, is there a chapter about the mark of Cain?
Sure.
And a way to reverse the mark of Cain?
Sure. Yes. Okay. Yes. Something like that. I think that's right. Yeah.
Because if the mark of Cain doesn't fully form on her, she won't become the Antichrist. Because that's what has to happen in the prophecy. It's a way to stop the prophecy from coming true.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to stop the mark of Cain from growing on your body, basically. And it's so while they're there doing that, we go interior Charlize's real apartments.
Yeah.
Charlize's real home. An FBI guy is there.
Yes,
and
cool.
It's a brief scene of showing her life here, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And then what they will find is like some sort of thing that shows that she owns this bookshop because it's her apartment.
Yeah, do they bump into a neighbor? Do they, something like that?
Well, I mean, wouldn't she have, like, if she owns it, she could have a flyer.
A flyer, something like that. Sure. Yeah.
Find evidence. Store. Maybe she's there. Sure, they call it in, and sure enough, a cop drives by and sees the car, the old Chevy outside.
Yeah, right. And then we're going to get to our midpoint set piece on tomorrow's show.
Well, technically, that is the midpoint.
Now. Yeah, great.
Because the midpoint is they just found it.
Yeah. Great.
And so we passed, we got through the midpoint turn. We know where we're going next. Actually, we didn't, because you know why?
Why?
Hold on. I just have to do this. Bookstore. Hold on. Bookstore day. The chapter says where they need to go next.
Great.
And we will figure that out tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. Good stuff. Well, you know, again, interesting. And again, I always look at the amount of hours we spend on this. We've gotten through this in basically a week's worth of work, at a 40-hour work week.
With less, because we've been doing all these extra things.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, we still need to decide or find someone to be our guest speaker this week. We should
don't we? Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we've got a really fun one coming up next year, but they can't do it till next year, so you'll have to wait and find out. Anyway,
and if we don't do one, it's not the end of the world. It's nice. I like them, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but I like them because they're fun. All right, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today. Super fun. And we'll see you again tomorrow.
See you later.
Bye-bye.